The Vril had watched Earth for decades from their hidden monitoring stations scattered throughout the solar system. These tall, gray-skinned beings with oversized heads and six-fingered hands considered themselves the pinnacle of evolution in the galaxy. Their civilization had mastered faster than light travel centuries ago, and they routinely studied lesser species across the stars. Director Tal stood before the Science Council, his silver eyes reflecting the holographic image of Earth rotating slowly in the chamber's center. Humans remain an anomaly, he explained to his colleagues. Their technological progression is erratic and unpredictable. They developed nuclear weapons before proper space travel. They created global communication networks before solving basic resource distribution. The council members nodded in agreement. Humans were fascinating but clearly primitive. We need direct observation, continued Tal. Their newest military vessel launched last week, the KSS Dauntless. Our probes indicate it represents their most advanced technology. Senior researcher Rex stepped forward. I volunteer to lead the IEI mission. 5 of us can gather all necessary data in under 8 hours. The mission was approved without debate. After all, what could possibly go wrong? The Vril had performed thousands of such missions on developing worlds. Their cloaking technology was flawless. Their data-gathering tools were non-invasive. Humans wouldn't even know they'd been studied. 3 days later, Rex's team prepared for boarding in their sleek shuttle, hidden in the shadow of a communications satellite. Each scientist wore a personal cloaking field generator on their wrist, technology centuries beyond human capabilities. Remember, Rex told his team, humans are predictable creatures of habit. Their night shift operates at reduced capacity. Most of their sensitive systems are automated. We'll be ghosts. The team teleported aboard the Dauntless during the quietest hour of night shift. Their arrival created a brief power fluctuation, nothing more than what the humans would attribute to normal system variance. Perfect, whispered Rex, though no human could have heard him through the cloaking field. Then, take biological samples from the sleeping quarters. Meek, analyze their weapons systems. Lin and Zor document their command center. I'll examine their main computer core. The alien scientists moved through the corridors with practiced efficiency. The ship was impressive by human standards, nearly 300 meters long with a crew of 200, but laughably simple to the Vril. Their scans showed primitive nuclear propulsion, projectile weapons, and computer systems that relied on silicon rather than quantum processing. In the engineering section, Rex easily bypassed what passed for security and began interfacing with the ship's main computer. He couldn't help but feel a twinge of disappointment. Humans were centuries behind Vril technology. Meanwhile, in a small maintenance room on Deck C, Ensign Kim was having trouble sleeping. His first deep space assignment had him too excited for rest, so he'd volunteered for extra shifts. Currently, he was recalibrating environmental sensors, boring work, but better than staring at his cabin ceiling. Kim's eyes drifted across the diagnostic screen, then suddenly snapped back. For a moment, one sensor had registered an impossible temperature fluctuation in Corridor 7, as if something colder than the ship's ambient temperature had moved through it quickly. The reading vanished almost immediately. That's weird, Kim muttered, tapping commands to run a system diagnostic. The ship's computer reported all systems normal, but Kim's instincts, honed from growing up in his family's electronics repair shop, told him something was off. Following proper protocol, Kim reported the anomaly to the bridge. Probably nothing, sir, but Sector 7C showed a brief temperature anomaly. Like something cold moved through it. Lieutenant Park, the night shift commander, might have dismissed the report on any other ship. But the Dauntless was different. Its crew had been specially selected and trained for unexpected situations, including possibility of alien contact. Park calmly pressed a recessed button beneath his command console. Throughout the ship, hidden systems silently activated. The ship's AI, Hana, began passive scans using sensors the Vril's reconnaissance had never detected. Within seconds, Hana identified 5 anomalous heat signatures moving through the ship, signatures that didn't match any known crew pattern. More concerning, these signatures corresponded with small electromagnetic disturbances, too regular to be random. Park smiled slightly. For years, humans had prepared for this possibility. The world's governments had kept the preparations secret even from their own citizens to prevent panic. Only those with the highest clearance knew that Earth had detected alien probes decades ago. Initiate protocol, Songbird, Park said quietly. Alert Captain Lee, but maintain normal operations. Let's see what our visitors are looking for. Throughout the ship, crew members received subtle alerts through their personal devices. Years of drills kicked in as they continued their duties while preparing for potential contact. No running, no panic, no dramatic confrontation, just quiet, methodical preparation. In the computer core, Rek felt a flush of excitement. Human encryption was child's play to bypass. Soon, all their military secrets would belong to the Vril. He failed to notice that every bit of data he accessed was being monitored, every movement tracked. The humans were letting him see exactly what they wanted him to see. Ensign Kim returned to his maintenance work, but now with heightened awareness. Somewhere nearby, something impossible was happening, humanity's first direct contact with alien life. And despite years of sci-fi movies preparing humanity for fear and panic, the crew of the Dauntless responded with something the Vril had never anticipated. Calm, practiced readiness. The trap was set. The hunters were about to become the hunted. Hana wasn't just a ship's computer. She was the most advanced AI ever developed on Earth, though her true capabilities remained classified even to most of the Dauntless crew. Only Captain Lee and a handful of senior officers knew what Hana could really do. As the alien researchers moved through the ship, Hana tracked their every movement. She analyzed their behavior patterns, noted which systems they accessed, and quietly fed this information to the command team now gathering in a secure room, 3 decks below the bridge. They're definitely not human, Captain Lee said, studying the thermal imaging on the display. She'd been woken from deep sleep just minutes ago, but was fully alert. Hana's confirmed 5 intruders using some kind of cloaking technology. Lieutenant, Park nodded. They're mainly targeting our technical systems, weapons, propulsion, communications, classic intelligence gathering. Captain Lee smiled slightly. Let's make them work for it, shall we? Begin Phase 2. Throughout the ship, Hana implemented subtle changes. In sections where the aliens operated, she gradually lowered oxygen levels by 3%, not enough to be immediately noticeable to humans, but perhaps uncomfortable for beings adapted to different atmospheric conditions. Lighting dimmed by small increments. Certain doors that should have opened automatically now required manual override. The alien named Meek was the first to notice something wrong. He'd been examining the ship's missile guidance systems when the lighting in the weapons bay shifted to a deeper blue hue. His species had more sensitive eyes than humans, and the change gave him an immediate headache. "Control, are you monitoring this?" Meek whispered into his communication device. "The environmental conditions are shifting." Back in the alien shuttle, Control responded, "No changes detected on our scans. Continue your mission." But Meek felt uneasy. The temperature had dropped by 2 degrees, and a faint humming noise had begun, just at the edge of hearing, but irritating nonetheless. Elsewhere on the ship, Ven was collecting biological samples from the crew quarters. The sleeping humans had no idea they were being scanned by devices centuries beyond Earth technology, or so Ven thought. Senior Chief Huang wasn't actually sleeping. Like all crew members in the path of the aliens, she'd been quietly alerted by a gentle vibration from her smartwatch. Following protocol, she maintained the appearance of sleep while her implanted biomonitor fed false readings to any scanning devices. Through slitted eyes, she watched as her room's ventilation system silently adjusted. Hana was introducing a compound that would make the aliens' cloaking technology slightly less effective, creating a faint shimmer in the air that a trained eye could detect. And there it was, a ripple in the air near her locker, moving with purpose. Huang continued her fake sleep, her pulse quickening despite years of training. After decades of speculation, humanity was finally face to face with extraterrestrial life. In the computer core, Rek was growing frustrated. The ship's database seemed strangely compartmentalized. Each time he accessed one system, others would suddenly require new authorization. It was as if the security protocols were adapting to his presence. "This is unusual," he muttered to himself. "Their technology shouldn't be this responsive." What Rek didn't realize was that Hana was leading him through a carefully constructed maze of false data and security honeypots. Every secret he uncovered had been specifically designed to be discovered. Captain Lee watched the aliens' movements on the tactical display. "They're still operating independently. Let's start hurting them." Hana implemented the next phase. Throughout the ship, certain corridors suddenly reported maintenance issues, forcing crew members to detour, and subtly directing the aliens into predetermined areas. Lin and Zor, the two researchers assigned to the command center, found themselves unable to access the bridge. Every corridor they tried somehow led them back to the same secondary control room, a room that was suddenly empty of crew. "This doesn't make sense," Lin said, checking their mapping device. "The bridge should be directly above us." Zor touched the wall, feeling a slight vibration. "Something's wrong. The humans are too organized. Notice how they've been moving through the ship? Their patterns changed about 20 minutes ago." "Impossible," Lin dismissed the concern. "Our intelligence confirms humans have no knowledge of other intelligent species. These are primitive beings who still fight wars among themselves." As they argued, neither noticed the almost imperceptible nozzles that had extended from the ceiling. When the colorless, odorless gas began filling the room, they had seconds to realize something was wrong before their cloaking devices began to malfunction. Lin stared in horror at his hands as they became visible. "We've been compromised." Across the ship, Mick was experiencing similar problems. Doors that should have opened remained sealed. Communication with the team became sporadic, filled with static. Most concerning, he began noticing crew members looking directly at him despite his cloaking technology. In the engineering section, Chief Officer Cho walked directly toward where Mick stood invisible, stopped just short of collision, and smiled. "Beautiful night for a visit, isn't it?" he said to what appeared to be empty air. Mick froze. It was impossible. The human had spotted him. In the crew quarters, Ven noticed the sleeping humans were no longer sleeping. One by one, they were sitting up in their beds, looking directly at the spots where the alien scientists stood. On the bridge, Captain Lee received the update. All intruders identified and contained in separate sections. 3 have experienced cloaking failures. 2 remain partially concealed but are being tracked. Lee nodded with satisfaction. "Maintain observation. Let's see what they do when they realize they're not the hunters anymore." Rek, still in the computer core, was the last to understand their mission had been compromised. His first clue came when all screens suddenly displayed the same message in perfect Vril language. "Welcome to Earth. We've been expecting you." The trap had sprung. The ship was fully awake, and the aliens were about to learn why humans had survived countless disasters that should have ended their civilization. Adaptability, creativity, and prepared paranoia were humanity's greatest weapons. And the Vril were about to experience all 3. The Vril had studied humans for decades, monitoring their broadcasts, analyzing their conflicts, and cataloging their scientific advancements. They had created detailed psychological profiles and behavior models, but all their research had missed something fundamental about humanity, something they were now experiencing firsthand. Lin and Zor huddled in the secondary control room, their cloaking devices flickering uselessly. The colorless gas had neutralized, their most advanced technology leaving them exposed. Worse, the room had sealed itself, trapping them inside. "This is impossible," Lin whispered, his large eyes blinking rapidly in distress. "Their files showed no defense capabilities against our technology. They shouldn't even know we exist." Zor was examining the sealed doorway when a voice came through the room's communication system. "Can you understand me?" The voice was calm, professional, a human female. The aliens froze, exchanging alarmed glances. Their translation devices worked perfectly, but responding would confirm their presence. After a moment of silence, the voice continued. We'll take that as a yes. My name is Lieutenant Kang. I've been assigned as your contact. We mean you no harm, but we cannot allow you to move freely through our vessel. In a different part of the ship, Mick was experiencing his own version of this revelation. The engineering section, where he'd been studying the ship's propulsion systems, was now filled with human crew members going about their duties. All of them somehow aware of his location despite his partially functioning cloaking. Chief Officer Cho approached the corner where Mick pressed himself against a wall. The human carried no weapon, showed no fear, only curiosity. Your cloaking still works a little, Cho said conversationally, as if speaking to invisible aliens was an everyday occurrence, but it creates a small distortion in our thermal imaging. Plus, you breathe differently than humans, more shallow, faster rate. Once we knew what to look for, it wasn't hard to spot. Mick remained silent, but his mind raced. The humans had been tracking them from the beginning. Every system they'd accessed, every area they'd explored, it had all been permitted, perhaps even directed. Meanwhile, Ven had retreated from the crew quarters into what appeared to be a recreational area. To his horror, the room gradually filled with off-duty crew members. They didn't approach or threaten him, but they positioned themselves near every exit, chatting casually among themselves. I bet it's their first time on a human ship, said a young crew member, seemingly to his companion, but clearly meant for Ven to hear. Must be disappointing finding out we're not as primitive as they thought. His friend nodded. Remember the training simulations? They said first contact would likely be covert observation before official communication. 5 credits says they're smaller than expected. The movies always get that wrong. The casual banter continued, but the message was clear. We knew you were coming. We prepared for this. Rek, still in the computer core, faced the most startling revelation. The message on the screen in his language was just the beginning. As he watched, the ship's systems he'd been trying to access reorganized themselves, revealing an entirely different operating system beneath the one he'd been exploring. It was a shell, he realized with growing dread. A fake system designed to be hacked. A new window opened on the screen, showing a live feed from around the ship. Rek saw his team members, all exposed, all contained. Then the camera switched to a secure room where humans in uniform studied holographic displays, showing the aliens' vital signs, movement patterns, and biological data. They'd been studying the Vril, while the Vril thought they were studying humans. Captain Lee entered the observation room where her senior staff monitored the situation. Report, she said simply. Science Officer Yu gestured to the displays. 5 intruders, as we suspected. Their biology matches the projections from the Ganymede signal intercepts. They're using technology that suggests a Type 2 civilization, roughly 300 years ahead of our public technology level. And their ship? Still holding position behind the communication satellite. No signs they're aware of the situation yet. Lee nodded, satisfied. Has anyone attempted hostile action? No, Captain. They appear to be a research team, just as we anticipated. Primarily interested in our technology and biology. Lee studied the images of the aliens. They looked almost fragile. Tall, thin frames with oversized heads and large, expressive eyes. Not the monsters of old science fiction, but scientists like her own crew. Begin Phase 3, she ordered. Let's show them what they really came to see. Throughout the ship, the crew shifted into a new pattern of behavior. The random, casual movements became precise, coordinated. Marines who had been casually positioned now formed disciplined teams, moving with practiced efficiency to secure vital areas. Ven, watching from his hiding spot in the recreation area, felt a chill as the off-duty crew members suddenly stood, in unison, responding to some signal he couldn't detect. The casual atmosphere vanished, replaced by focused purpose. In the sealed control room, Lin and Zord jumped when the door suddenly opened. Lieutenant Kang stood there with 2 unarmed crew members. Please come with us, she said politely. Our captain would like to speak with you. In engineering, Chief Cho gestured for Mick to follow him. This way, please. Resistance isn't necessary, but it would make things more complicated. Across the ship, The humans moved with a coordination that defied the Vril's understanding of primitive species. They weren't panicking at discovering aliens aboard their ship. They weren't reacting with fear or violence. Instead, they seemed almost pleased, as if this encounter was a test they'd been preparing for their entire lives. Rek watched it all unfold on the computer screens, understanding finally dawning. The humans hadn't just detected them. They had been waiting for them. Every move his team had made had been anticipated and countered with a precision that suggested years of preparation. As if confirming his thoughts, a new message appeared on the screen. Protocol Songbird First Contact Containment Procedure, executed successfully. Humanity had just passed a test the Vril didn't know they were administering. And now, the real first contact was about to, begin. The Vril had always considered themselves masters of logical thinking and strategic planning. Their society had eliminated the chaos of emotion thousands of years ago, developing pure rational thought to levels that made them excellent, scientists and terrible at understanding species still governed by feelings and instinct. This blind spot was becoming painfully obvious to Rek as he watched his team being systematically contained throughout the ship. He abandoned the computer core, his mission now focused on regrouping and escaping. But the ship had become a labyrinth of sealed corridors and redirected pathways. Rek tapped his communication device. All units fall back to extraction point, mission compromised. Only static answered him. The humans were jamming their signals. As he moved through a maintenance tunnel, trying to avoid detection, Rek had his first direct encounter with human marines. 3 of them appeared at the tunnel junction ahead, wearing lightweight armor and carrying what appeared to be non-lethal restraint devices. They moved with a fluid precision that reminded Rek of hunting predators from his homeworld. "We can. See you," said the lead marine calmly. "Your cloaking device is failing. Please stop and identify yourself." Rek hesitated, then bolted down a side passage. The humans didn't pursue immediately, which confused him until he rounded a corner and found 3 more marines waiting. They had predicted his escape route. How? He wondered. The Vril prided themselves on logical thinking, yet these humans seemed to anticipate his decisions before he made them. Meanwhile, Mick had reluctantly followed Chief Officer Cho into what appeared to be an observation lounge. Large windows revealed the curved edge of Earth below and the star-filled blackness of space. 2 other crew members waited inside, looking curious but not threatening. "Would you like something to drink?" asked one of them, gesturing to a table with various containers. "We're not sure what's compatible with your biology, but water should be safe." Mick remained silent, studying them. The humans watched him with open fascination, not the fear or aggression his training had led him to expect. "You're not surprised," Mick finally said, his translator converting his high-pitched speech into human language. Cho smiled. "Not really. We've been preparing for first contact scenarios for decades, though I admit we expected something more official than a covert boarding operation. Your technology," Mick began, "is more advanced than we've let on." Cho finished for him. "That's humanity's first line of defense, being underestimated." Across the ship, Lin and Zor had been escorted to what appeared to be a conference room. Lieutenant Kang waited with several officers who introduced themselves as specialists in various scientific fields. The humans acted as if meeting aliens was a routine occurrence. "We detected your ship 3 days ago," Kang explained. "Your cloaking is impressive, but it creates a specific distortion in our deep space radar array, a technology we've kept classified." Lin's large eyes blinked rapidly. "You deliberately leaked false information about your capabilities." "Of course," said one of the scientists, Dr. Han. "Earth has been monitoring potential extraterrestrial activity since the mid-20th century. We established the Contact Preparedness Protocol after confirming signals from your observation posts in the Kuiper Belt 15 years ago." The revelation stunned the aliens. Their observation posts had been designed to be undetectable by human technology. Zor leaned forward. "If you knew about us, why didn't you attempt communication?" Kang exchanged glances with her colleagues. "We needed to understand the nature of our galactic neighbors first. Your decision to secretly board our vessel rather than communicate openly was informative." Ven had been brought to the ship's medical bay where human doctors maintained a respectful distance while scanning him with devices far more sophisticated than should have been possible for Earth's publicly known technology level. "Your biology is fascinating," said the chief medical officer, Dr. Jin. "Your species appears to have evolved in an environment with lower gravity and higher oxygen content than Earth. Your brain structure suggests advanced cognitive processing, particularly in areas related to mathematical reasoning." Ven couldn't help feeling like a specimen under examination, exactly what his team had planned to do to the humans. The irony wasn't lost on him. "How did you detect us?" he asked. Dr. Jin smiled. "Human intuition. Your science might be more advanced, but we've spent millennia learning to sense danger and detect patterns. Ensign Kim noticed a temperature anomaly that your technology couldn't quite mask. He didn't dismiss it as a system error like your models probably predicted he would." Rek had finally been cornered in a cargo bay. His cloaking device had failed completely, leaving him visible to the 6 Marines who surrounded him with practiced efficiency. Their movements were unpredictable yet coordinated, as if they operated on some hive-mind principle the Vril had never encountered. Captain Lee entered the cargo bay, dismissing 4 of the Marines with a small gesture. She approached Rek without fear or aggression, simply curious. "I'm Captain Lee of the Earth vessel Dauntless. You've put us in an unusual diplomatic situation." Rek straightened to his full height, nearly a head taller than the human captain. "We meant no harm. We are scientists." "Scientists who boarded a military vessel without permission," Lee corrected. "On Earth we call that espionage." "We didn't believe your species was ready for official contact," Rek admitted. "Our protocols for emerging civilizations," Lee's laugh interrupted him. It was a sound without malice but full of genuine amusement. "You classified us as emerging? That's why you're in this situation now. You underestimated us badly." As if to emphasize her point, the ship's communication officer reported, "Captain, we've established a blocking field around their shuttle. They can't transmit or receive signals, and their propulsion system has been temporarily disabled." Rek's confidence crumbled entirely. The humans had not only detected and captured his team, but they had also neutralized their escape craft using technology that should have been centuries beyond Earth's capabilities. "What happens now?" he asked quietly. "Captain," Lee's expression softened slightly. Now we talk, like civilized beings from 2 advanced species. Your covert approach failed, but perhaps we can still establish a more honest relationship. After all, we're going to be neighbors for a very long time." The tables had completely turned. The observers had become the observed, the scientists had become the specimens, and humanity had revealed itself to be far more than the Vril had ever imagined. The observation lounge had been transformed into an impromptu diplomatic meeting room. Large windows revealed Earth hanging like a blue jewel against the blackness of space, slowly rotating as the Dauntless continued its orbit. Captain Lee had ordered refreshments set out, water, fruit, and various Earth foods arranged on simple platters. All 5 real scientists sat stiffly in chairs designed for human bodies. Their tall, thin frames made them look uncomfortable, but none complained. They had been treated with surprising courtesy after their capture. No restraints, no isolation cells, not even raised voices. Just firm escort to this room and a polite request to wait. Rek, as team leader, felt the weight of failure pressing down on him. The Vril Council would be furious. Their carefully constructed models of human behavior had proven catastrophically wrong. Worse, they had severely underestimated human technological capabilities. The door slid open and Captain Lee entered with a small team of officers. No weapons were visible, but the Vril had no doubt that security measures were in place. "I apologize for the delay," Lee said, taking a seat across from the aliens. "I was speaking with my superiors about our unusual situation." "Are we prisoners?" Rek asked directly. Lee's expression remained neutral. "That depends on how we proceed from here. Technically, you violated our sovereignty and attempted to steal classified information. On Earth, those actions typically have serious consequences." The aliens exchanged nervous glances. Their mission briefing had included nothing about human detention protocols. However, Lee continued, this is also humanity's first official contact with your species. That gives us an opportunity to establish the nature of our future relationship. She gestured toward one of her officers, who activated a holographic display in the center of the table. It showed the Vril shuttle, now held in the Dauntless's secondary hangar bay. Your vessel is intact and will be returned to you. Your equipment has been cataloged but not damaged. Before you leave, though, I'd like to correct some misunderstandings. The display changed to show Earth's solar system, with dozens of small markers indicating locations throughout. These are the monitoring stations your people have placed near Earth over the past 50 years. We've known about most of them for decades. The ones we've allowed to remain active have received carefully curated information. Zor leaned forward, his large eyes widening. Impossible. Our stealth technology is impressive, interrupted Lieutenant Kang, but not perfect. Nothing is. Earth's defense systems identified anomalous readings as early as 1972. By the 1990s, we had confirmed extraterrestrial observation. If you knew, Lin asked, why not announce your discovery to your people? Why continue the charade of being alone in the universe? Captain Lee smiled slightly. For the same reason your civilization chose observation over contact. We needed to understand the situation before reacting. Human history is filled with examples of more technologically advanced societies destroying less advanced ones. We wanted to be prepared. The display changed again, showing technical schematics of the Dauntless that were far more advanced than what the Vril had accessed during their infiltration. This ship isn't just a warship, explained Chief Officer Cho. It's a first contact vessel, specially designed to demonstrate humanity's capabilities without revealing everything. What you saw, what your intelligence gathering revealed, was exactly what we wanted potential observers to see. Rek felt a chill run through him. The humans had created an elaborate deception, a ship designed to be infiltrated, systems designed to be hacked, all to see how potential alien visitors would behave. Your species is unexpected, Rek admitted. We get that a lot, said Dr. Jin with a small smile. Even from ourselves. Captain Lee leaned forward, her expression becoming more serious. Now let me ask you something. If our positions were reversed, if humans had secretly boarded one of your vessels to gather intelligence, what would have happened to them? The Vril scientists exchanged uncomfortable glances. Their protocols for handling primitive species who discovered their observation were not particularly gentle. I thought so, Lee said, reading their silence. That brings us to the lesson of today's encounter. She stood and walked to the window, looking out at Earth for a moment before turning back to face the aliens. Humanity isn't what you thought. We were. We're not unified under a single government. We still fight wars among ourselves. Our technology advances unevenly. We're emotional, sometimes irrational, and incredibly diverse in our beliefs and cultures. She paused, making eye contact with each alien. But we're also resilient, adaptive, and very, very good at surviving. We prepare for the worst while hoping for the best. And we've been preparing for this day for a very long time. One of the junior officers brought forward 5 small containers, placing one before each alien. These are data crystals compatible with your technology, Lee explained. They contain information about Earth, our cultures, languages, scientific achievements, art, music, and an invitation to establish formal diplomatic relations, not as subjects to be studied, but as equals to be respected. Rek slowly picked up the crystal, examining it with newfound appreciation for human craftsmanship. Why share this with us after what we did? Because that's the second lesson, Lee said. Humans understand curiosity. We've been exploring and studying our world and beyond since we first looked up at the stars. We don't fault you for wanting to learn about us. We only object to your methods and assumptions. She returned to her seat. Your ship will be released in 6 hours. You're free to return to your people with what you've learned. We hope your report will encourage more open communication in the future. Meek, who had been silent until now, suddenly asked, "Weren't you afraid? When you realized non-humans had infiltrated your vessel?" The human officers exchanged glances and several smiled. Of course we were, admitted Dr. Han. Fear is natural, but so is courage, choosing to act despite fear. Throughout human history, we've learned that most challenges look impossible only until someone overcomes them. As the meeting concluded, and the aliens prepared to return to their shuttle, Captain Lee had one final message. When you report back to your leaders, please convey this. Earth welcomes peaceful exchange with galactic neighbors. We have much to learn from each other, but also make it very clear that any species that mistakes our diversity for weakness, our individualism for disorganization, or our emotion for irrationality, would be making a grave miscalculation. Hours later, as the Vril shuttle broke orbit and accelerated toward deep space, Rek looked at the blue planet receding behind them. Their mission had failed spectacularly, yet they were returning with far more valuable information than their original objective would have provided. In the official classification database of the Vril Collective, Earth's status was immediately updated, deceptively advanced, approach with extreme caution, recommended protocol, open diplomatic channels only. Note: humans appear primitive but possess hidden capabilities. Their unpredictability is their greatest strength.